Welcome to the presentation for the study Digital Privacy Perception of Asylum Seekers in Germany, an empirical study about smartphone usage during the flight. The authors of this paper are Enno Steinbrink, Lilian Reichert, Mende, and Professor Christian Reuter from the PSEC group at the Technical University of Darmstadt. At PSEC, we conduct research at the intersection of peace informatics and technical peace research, crisis informatics and information warfare, and usable safety, security, and privacy. But let's move to the topic. In 2015, there was a surge in the numbers of asylum seekers, sparking the so-called European migrant crisis. Also, in the years after, the numbers of displaced people and asylum seekers worldwide has been increased. Today, these migration movements increasingly rely on technology and make use of digital infrastructures such as social media, mobile networks, and Wi-Fi hotspots. This study examines the smartphone-related privacy perceptions and challenges arising for asylum seekers during the flight. While past CSCW and HCI research often focused on smartphone and ICT use of migrants and refugees in general or at their target destination, the use of digital tools during flight is an increasingly relevant research area of CSCW. So far, research is lacking a comprehensive understanding of privacy perception of asylum seekers. We found a need to identify the impact of privacy considerations on digital smartphone use during the flight. The main research interests of this study were the relevance of digital privacy for asylum seekers, the acquisition of privacy-related knowledge during the flight, and how privacy considerations are reflected in their user behavior. We aimed to fill this gap by providing exploratory results. For this, we conducted semi-structured interviews with 14 asylum seekers who applied for asylum in Germany. Our interviewees had various countries of origin, mainly in the Middle East and Afghanistan. After the interview, we conducted content analysis, deriving categories to analyze the interview data and structure the results. Regarding the general smartphone user behavior, we found that all participants had access to a smartphone, either temporarily or throughout the flight. These phones were often used collectively within spontaneously formed groups to save battery or costs. On- and offline maps, calls, and messenger apps were the most relevant applications. Social media and browsing websites were barely relevant. Most participants acquired an understanding of digital privacy during their journey. The reasons for this lie in 5 threat categories we identified: governmental persecution in the country of origin, governmental persecution extended to family members, meaning that the participants feared their actions online could endanger their family who stayed in the country of origin, persecution by non-state actors such as the IS, collaboration with smugglers who had an interest to stay unknown to the police, and negative consequences for the resident status in the target or transit country. These threats were encountered with different strategies for digital privacy protection. We also divided in 4 categories. First, anonymity efforts, for example, using a VPN provider. Second, adaptation of communication, for example, the use of code language. Third, adaptation of user behavior, for example, using storage media for data. And fourth, renouncement, meaning to stop using the phone or the disposal of it. Also, we found people fleeing for reasons of political persecution had more preconceptions of digital privacy and were more aware of the dangers of digital surveillance. However, these results could be biased since these participants seem to have a higher education within our sample. We also found a mismatch between app and smartphone features, which are usually designed for the convenience of the average Western customer, and the affordances that were salient for users in the context of flight. Examples are the coupling of apps to the device user account or accounts linked to phone numbers. Features like this are problematic in this context since they don't easily allow for anonymity and since they are a hindrance when changing devices and SIM cards frequently. We derived several implications for the design of apps and platforms aiming to assist asylum seekers. We concluded, due to the relevance of physical smartphone checks, online platforms should be preferred over apps which could be more easily discovered on the phone. Apps and platforms should also allow for anonymity, or at least pseudonymity, and not be linked to phone numbers. Also, if a login was required, it should be easy to log out, since often devices are shared. Last but not least, tools that provide plausible deniability and a forced phone check should be further developed and made accessible. To conclude, our study explored the relevance of digital privacy perceptions of asylum seekers and its impact on user behavior during their journey. We could identify 5 threat categories that motivate privacy protection and found 4 types of privacy protection strategies. Additionally, we derived several implications for the development of digital tools that could support digital collaboration in the context of flight. Thank you for your attention.